Another big trade on the offensive line and another emergency pod. I asked for an all-pro. The Bears got an all-pro. Let's talk about an emergency edition of CHGO Bears Podcast. Big one. If you thought yesterday was good, this is better. Joe Thuney, Chicago Bear. That just sounds so good. Adam Hoge, Mark Carman with you. Emergency edition of CHGO Bears Podcast. And yes, we still have our bigger show later on today. We had to get together. We battled traffic. We battled trains. We took all of the modes of transportation to get here to talk about Joe Thuney.
I mean, this was not the expected start to the day, but this is a great start to the day. So much to like about this, Adam Hoge. Wow, Ryan Poles. Really getting aggressive here in establishing this offensive line. Yesterday, Jonah Jackson. Today, Joe Thuney. A leader, a Super Bowl champion, a winner, a smart guy, a versatile guy, position of need, best player available to draft on the board. Lots of good things going on here. You got to feel better about your Bears today than you did 24 hours ago.
All right. Adam Hoge, why don't you give us your instant reaction?
It is time now for the instant reaction that you have been waiting for. I got so excited that I even forgot about it. But right now, the Adam Hoge instant reaction. The Bears have traded for Joe Thuney.
I got to be honest with you. I need to go on a little rant here for a second. I can't wait. Let's go.
I asked for all pros. I said, where are the all pros? I got an Instagram video full of mean comments asking for all pros. Ryan Poles got an all pro. I don't care what the money is. I don't care what the trade compensation is. By the way, trade compensation, basically nothing. The money, whatever. Probably going to extend them anyway. At least you would think they think about it. Joe Thuney is part of the main heart and soul of the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, and it has been the last few years. Before that, part of the heart and soul of the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. That's what this guy's career has been. He has won Super Bowls. He wins football games. He's been part of winning organizations. He's been an outstanding player. And oh, by the way, I think he's missed 2 games his entire career. He's durable. He's flexible. He kicked out the left tackle in the playoffs because he had to. This is the type of player you need to win Super Bowls. I don't care that he's 32. This is a rare. I say there's exceptions to all these things. There are general rules you want to follow, and then there are exceptions for real-ass football players. This is a home run for a 4th-round pick in 2026. This is, I mean, seriously, you want evidence that things are going to be different under Ben Johnson? This is it. You should be excited about it.
So we said, I don't know how many times in the middle of last year, the Bears need someone on the offensive line who can lead the offensive line. It was not in the room. Braxton Jones, Darnell Wright, no shade to either of those guys who look like they're going to be a part of this offensive line going forward. You would think, most likely, we'll see, at least competing with Braxton, and obviously Darnell will be there. But they're not front-of-the-room dudes. Neither was Coleman Shelton. Ryan Bates got here. He's like, well, I've never done this, but is that part, but I guess it's me. They haven't had it. Not only can the guy, obviously play, but you needed that dude. And anybody looking around who knows how to win this thing, who knows how to get to the mountaintop? Well, that dude does. And that dude goes about his business the right way. So assuming he can, stay healthy, which it's obviously it gets riskier and riskier as he get late in the career, and he is 32. But assuming he can stay healthy, which the Bears are making that bet, I think it's a worthwhile bet. To me, the combination of the two is what's so rare about and what's so exciting about this pickup. It's a big time change in that room, man. Big time change.
And look, like, let's talk about some of the reasons for why this is happening. I mean, obviously, it's funny. These things sometimes in hindsight seem so obvious. Like, we're in Indy last week. I start hearing there's no way that the Chiefs are going to let go of Trey Smith. And then, okay, if that's the case, how do you do that? Well, they made a decision here, and I don't blame the Chiefs at all. It's probably a good decision on their end. As good as Joe Thuney is, Trey Smith is emerging. He's younger. It's going to cost more, but okay, this is what good organizations on that end of the side do too. They get rid of a guy a year early instead of a year too late. That's a Bill Belichick thing. And then they sign the younger guy, and they keep recycling this. Good for them. That makes sense. So to clear some of this money and some of this space, they had a guy with 1 year left on his deal that they weren't going to be able to extend once they decided to keep Trey Smith. And so they got to get rid of him. I'm a little surprised that there weren't more takers, that the trade compensation wasn't more. But we see trades like this all the time in the NFL. I think that's one of the beauties of the NFL is sometimes it seems like all the trades that happen, you have the ones that are like, here's 3 first-round picks. And then you have the other ones that's like, wait, you just got an all-pro guard for a 4th rounder next year? And it happens all the time. The Bears got Keenan Allen last year for a 4th-round pick. Amari Cooper was a 5th-round pick. Like, good players get traded for what seems like on the surface, not a whole lot all the time. And it's just about circumstance. It's about contracts. It's about timing. And so I think this is a win-win for both sides. In fact, honestly, it's probably a loss for the Chiefs, but it's a loss they had to take for what'll be a win long-term by by putting the money towards the younger guard. I get it.
Right. And look, it's not as sexy as, if you could fly up we just signed Trey Smith at the top of the market in his prime for 5 years and all the money. Bears fans would absolutely love it. And the Bears seemingly tried to get that done and maybe even tried to trade for him as well. But, you could look at it partly like, well, why would you, in essence, help the Chiefs clear space to sign Trey Smith? Well, if you know that what the price tag is for him, or you know how unlikely it's going to be, you got to pivot. And I'm a big fan of let's stay as flexible as possible. And maybe they'll extend Joe, maybe they won't. I don't, who knows how that'll go. But it won't be at top end money. And you have to fill out a roster. And the more times if you spend huge on trade, it's gonna impact elsewhere. Here's a guy that should be able to get the job done. I also love the concept of it. You draft somebody who can learn behind him for a year, and hopefully you see that you got it right. And it gives you a lot of flexibility on, well, where we could sign him, or we really like this guy so we can play him. That to me would be the home run here. Get a guy behind him, learn from him, steps right in when he's ready to move along.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are some things to sort out here. In fact, I got to check my text because I did ask. Okay, yeah. So I did ask somebody. I said, didn't they basically just trade for 2 left guards? Which is a little bit of a concern, but the response was both can play all 3 spots, and obviously Thuney can play left tackle too. So I'm okay with the idea of letting it sort out. I think that, again, I'm going to trust that Ben Johnson has a pretty good idea of what Jonah Jackson can do. And it does give you flexibility. The fact that these guys can move around. Now, I do think, I want to be clear, I think the best spot for Joe Thuney is to be a left guard, just because he's so proven to be so good there. I think that's the best thing. But the idea that if you need him to, he can play left tackle. If you need Jackson to kick inside to center or move over to right guard, I think it's possible. All of this gives you flexibility, though, to not be pigeonholed into, well, we only can draft a center or we can only draft a guard. This gives you the opportunity that, all right, if the best guard available in the draft's available to you in the 2nd round, get him. If you trade back and Graze the Bell, who I think can be a great center, is available to you, then fill that spot. So I don't hate the versatility aspect. I don't think it necessarily should be viewed as a negative, because this is the type of player I understood the Jonah Jackson trade, Carm. I am over the moon for Joe Thuney.
So let me ask you this part about the Jonah Jackson deal, because you do have two guys who predominantly have played left guard in their career. Do you think the Bears knew yesterday that this was, I would think, but this was on the table? You wouldn't think like, okay, let's go get Jonah Jackson. This makes sense.
No, this was a both thing. For sure.
So I do wonder though, like how these things, things can change very rapidly here. I would assume that they knew that this was a possibility. It would be unlikely that they didn't, but it does seem a little bit odd on that side that if you knew yesterday there was a good chance that you're getting Thuney, why would you go ahead and do the Jonah Jackson deal when there is some redundancy here? But obviously they believe in their flexibility of both of them.
And again, Ben Johnson should know, exactly what Jackson can do. Ryan Poles was in Kansas City when they signed Joe Thuney as well. So this is getting a real player. Bears fans should, and let's zoom out to big picture approach. It's just a sign that they're not messing around, right? Like enough of this. We like this random guy on the Bills. We're going to spend 3 years trying to get him, reaching for Nate Davis. This is a proven player who is just it's an up. I don't know how to explain it. It's an upgrade. So if you talk about adding a real all pro to the interior of your line, Darnell Wright, and this is still a hypothetical, but as much as I know I talk about Carter in Philly, I've always maintained I still like Darnell Wright. I like the pick at the time, and would I preferred Carter? Yes, but that doesn't mean I didn't like Wright. So don't get me wrong. I think Darnell Wright is in a perfect trajectory, maybe not perfect, but a good trajectory to do what a lot of tackles do and take off in their third year. So if that happens, you're just talking about a different level offensive line for Caleb Williams. Ben Johnson gets this. That's what I'm reading here in the last 2 days. Ben Johnson, it's not just words. He gets it.
Well, and the Darnell Wright part of it, you just got me excited about it, because Darnell Wright, super talented, has battled through a couple injuries, stayed on the field, so I've appreciated his toughness. Darnell Wright could be one of the biggest benefactors of this deal. To be around a dude like Joe Thuney, who by all reports, he's front of the room guy, sits in, is dialed in each week, incredibly professional. There's a lot to learn from somebody like that. There's a lot to learn from a guy who came in with New England and immediately started in a fairly complicated system, was able to pick it up, get that done. Let me move over to Kansas City, win 2 more Super Bowls. I played for, again, Andy Reid, Bill Belichick. These are, it's a hell of a tree here that he's been on, in his NFL career, if you will. Thank you very much. But so I just think there's a lot. The Bears have wanted to win, have talked a lot, all these things. This dude is somebody you can follow and know that you're headed in the right direction. And they've really, really needed somebody like that. And so to that's again, the thing that excites me the most about it. And, when now Ryan Poles can sit at his desk at good old Hallis Hall and think, okay, so where do I want to go from here? You are way, way less what I would call desperate today than you were 2 days ago or even 24 hours ago. So he's got to be feeling great about that. Okay, so now let's think about everything that's opened up for me right now. And let me think about how this is all going to play out. And by the way, the offensive line coach, excellent choice. They're Darren Rochar. Do I have that right? Ruchar?
Dan Ruchar.
Dan Ruchar, my guy.
Don't worry. You're only my second co-host in the last 2 days to screw that name up.
Okay, I feel good.
You and Braggs will get it eventually.
Oh,
maybe by training camp.
Rochar, my guy. I love him. This dude he's well respected.
Never met him. Love him.
Hey, we needed listen, he's not SEMO, who drove, I think, me and a lot of Bears fans crazy by the end of it. And so look, hey, let's get some teaching going on here. Let's draft somebody to play behind him. Let's get the play. Let's figure out exactly how this thing's going to fit together. Caleb Williams right now has got to be, I would think, has a big smile on his face. Right?
I would hope so.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
I would hope so. Yeah. I just look, a lot of things to be excited about here with this with this offensive line, and obviously, in my opinion, Thuney's next level. Let's take a quick break here on our emergency podcast, second one in 2 days. Well, yesterday kind of was one. We just started the show early because it happened right before the show.
This feels different. No disrespect, Jonah Jackson.
Yeah, and well, it's also different because it's literally a real emergency pod. We'll have our show later on today at noon. And coming up right after this, all NFL, Fran Duffy and I will be talking running backs too. Does this change your opinion on going skill position in the draft early? If the line's built out.
It doesn't, but at least not for running back. But it does. It makes it interesting for just certainly if you want to look at the defensive side of the ball.
But first, Carman's going to tell us about a beer that tastes very, very good.
I mean, we should be cracking open. Where is it right now? It's 9:37 in the morning, but I could use a Sam Adams American Light. This
to celebrate.
That's right. We listen. We are promoting a higher quality light beer that doesn't taste like a light beer. It is straight delicious, 100% American sourced ingredients, local independent farmers. You got to love that. Shout out to our people on the front lines making the good stuff. Light beer that's made right. And it shouldn't, again, feel like a compromise. And this doesn't. So smooth, so delicious. Light beer just got better. Grab some Sam Adams American Light, available now at Chicago retailers. You have to be 21. Please drink responsibly. Shout out to our friends at Boston Beer.
Yeah, as you're enjoying that, and you're enjoying, Joe Thuney mauling guys on Sundays coming this fall. You know where you want to watch those games? Hooters.
Yep.
Hooters is the place to go to watch games with your friends. Because honestly, is there any better combination than Hooters and Chicago sports?
Nope.
No. Hooters cares about their people, the food they serve, their guests, their community. It's an experience like no other based on years of hard work. So they got $6 cocktails all day, every day. Plus, I mean, come on. We know about the wings. The wings are outstanding. Original Hooters is creating an experience like no other. It's often imitated, never duplicated. The original Hooters, been one of a kind since 1983. That's even before the Bears' last Super Bowl. That's how long it's been.
Yeah, that feels like a long time ago.
Cheer on your favorite teams from any of the 11 Chicagoland Hooters locations. I used to live in Park Ridge, so I'd always go to the one near O'Hare. It's a great location. You can also order online for pickup and delivery. Check them out at originalhooters.com. All right, we'll continue to cover this trade throughout the day. Of course, the full-blown CHGO Bears podcast coming your way at noon Central later today.
I'm getting Chiefs fans who are texting me. He's a legend. You guys are lucky. All the things. I just sent Nick Wright a text saying Thuney and Caleb to the Super Bowl, just trying to poke at the bear here. Maybe we'll get Nick on this week to feel to see the Chiefs' pain in straight on the podcast. As clearly, I mean, this is the rocket ship is I mean, it's revving up here, Hoge. The Bears rocket ship, buddy.
And to give you the Chiefs side of things, they're scrambling. We might hear from Matt Verderam, our guy, later on today. We're efforting him. He was recording his own podcast reacting to this trade when we talked to him. So, but he does have this lengthy tweet. I'll share some of this just from the Chiefs side of things. His reaction to the Joe Thuney deal. They needed the cap space. Once they tagged Trey Smith, it was very unlikely they were going to extend Thuney. Too much money tied up there. So it tells you they even at 32, they wanted to extend Thuney, but they had to make a decision here because of the salary cap, and certainly cannot blame them for going the younger route with Trey Smith. Matt says Smith will get done, but like many tag deals, it could take a while. And if that's the case, they really needed cap space. And let's see, I can scroll down a little bit more on the offensive line. He says Kingsley's in line to play left guard. Just my 2 cents, but he did well in week 18. The organization has publicly talked about him switching to guard. I think he's the leader in the clubhouse for that spot. And then left tackle becomes more important than ever. They have to find an answer there. And now Thuney was a security blanket no longer. So I think just reading between all that from Matt Verderam, you can hear how important Joe Thuney was and how much they got to scramble here now that he's a Bear.
I mean, 2024, these stats compiled by Jacob Infante, who did this on Twitter. First team All-Pro, Pro Bowler, 79.9 Pro Football Focus grade. That's 12th of 135 yards. 82 pass blocking grade. That's 5th in the NFL. 1 penalty. 1 on 1,115 snaps. That's a good number. And then there's 0 sacks allowed. Caleb Williams was sacked 68 times last year. And we've talked extensively that it wasn't all on the O-line. But imagine how this guy is going to help the entire process. His play, his leadership, bringing together an O-line. That's another part about this. You're going to have a lot, you're going to have a completely different O-line. How is that group going to become cohesive as fast as possible? You would think a veteran of his talent, of his knowledge would go a long way in moving that forward as quick as possible so the Bears could hopefully hit down, to hit 2025 running. And I just want to point this out again. Putting a lot on Thuney here. Save the franchise basically, but come on, you can do this. No.
It's not about him. This is where people get wrong. Like, this was exactly the genesis of the rant I went on when I asked for the All-Pros. We have a habit of talking up average to above average players to an insane level. And we don't need to do that just because the Bears have one All-Pro, just because we don't know what those look like. He doesn't need to save the franchise. Get more of them. Draft them. That would be great, right?
Yeah.
But you got to get savvy and plug some holes here and there. So he's a first team All-Pro the last 2 years, and he was a 2-time second team All-Pro twice before that. This is somebody who is still playing at an insane level. This is not even just getting Keenan Allen and hoping that he, can fit in and take some production. This is a real player.
It's at a real position of need. So, look, say what you want about Ryan Poles. This falls under the Poles umbrella. He's willing to give up draft capital for players that he thinks that can make an immediate impact. Obviously, it didn't work out with Claypool. Montez Sweat came in and was phenomenal last year. That was injured, didn't play to his capabilities. Maybe, hopefully, he has a much better 2025. But this is the same type of deal. And this one, you're talking about a 4th rounder, not this year, in 2026, at a huge position of need, at a salary with the way apparently the guard free agents and center and everybody else on that offensive line. I mean, it's just getting more and more money out there. So it actually saves the Bears a couple of dollars here, you would think, at least for this year, and your flexibility going forward is still there.
Yeah. Now, okay.
Yeah.
The more players like this they acquire, the more does it open your eyes to perhaps drafting a skill position player with your first pick?
So possible. When you say skill position, my first thought is running back because, Ashton Genty is at the top and the Carolina kid as well. But to me, that's a luxury the Bears, because of the running back depth in this draft, because I keep on hearing that you can get a great running back in the 5th round. I personally wouldn't do that. To win in football, you have to be able to protect the quarterback. You got to be able to get to the quarterback. The Bears are have massive trouble getting to the quarterback. So if you told me that you thought this is the most dynamic dude and that's your draft analysis, your breakdown of Ashton Genty, I get on board with it, but there's just too much back and forth. Well, he might not be the top, the back and forth. So I still lean, you're either adding on to that O-line or you're taking the number one guy that you think that can get to the QB.
So I'm going to keep saying this. There's exceptions to everything.
Sure.
So I think just like I think Joe Thuney is an exception to the idea that you don't want to pay guys that are over 30. I think in one way to look at it is if guys are first team All-Pro, yeah, pretty good reason to make an exception there. Unless you have somebody super, young and upcoming like Trey Smith, obviously, then you have to make a tough decision. I think this is why this is a situation where it was kind of a rare spot where the Bears could make this move. But as it comes to, as we kind of shift this to the draft talk, look, I'm still part of the reason why I'm pretty excited about what the Bears have done so far in the last 2 days is because to me, this is all about the line of scrimmage this offseason. I think we know that. I think the Bears have been pretty open about that. And I think their actions so far show that. So my instinct is to stick with that philosophy. Stick first round. I don't care if it's offense, defense, but continue to shore up the trenches. That being said, there are exceptions.
Is Tyler Warren an exception? So last week I did my I Have a Dream thing on that the Bears can take the best player available. I just don't know if they're quite there yet.
I don't think he's an exception at 10. If you traded back and added more draft capital, then maybe we could talk about that. But maybe Ashton Genty at 10. Maybe that would be an exception. I'm not quite there. Where I am, though, for sure, is remember, if you guys saw my first Bears mock draft early last week, I took Caleb Johnson in the second round. And I said, look, ideally, I'd rather make this pick in the third round or draft. Not that Caleb would last that long, but more so like address the running back in the third round. But I said he was an exception. Now that you've made these two moves on the offensive line, I am a lot more comfortable taking a running back in the second round.
Sure.
And we can start to talk about, as free agency continues to play out and more moves are made, how it affects the first round later.
Well, different era, different time. But look, the Eagles made the biggest move last offseason going against Saquon, and now they extended him yesterday. So if we can go back in time, would you rather have on your Chicago Bears, would you rather have Walter Payton or would you rather have Jimbo Covert? I don't think anybody would say Jimbo Covert. You're going to take Sweetness. So if you're telling me that you think that Ashton Genty is going to be one of the best running backs in the league, then freaking draft him. If that's what you think. Yeah. I get on board with it, but you better be right.
And I totally understand what you're saying, but you also kind of made a different point I was making earlier, which was you just named two Hall of Famers.
Right.
So you got both.
Sure.
That's how you win a Super Bowl.
Yes.
You have multiple great players.
Right. And look, I'm just saying that, but that's why I'm doing that comp. It's because they're both up. These are both at the top. If you can have the top at left tackle or the top running back, you're going to take the top running back. You just are.
Let's get to some super chats before we close out this emergency pod. Again, a lot more coming up at noon on the CHGO Bears podcast. But we'll get your supers here. I think we have a few of them on this emergency edition before we get out of here. We got Samuel, $20. If the Bears end up taking an offensive lineman with the 10th pick, do you think the rookie would start? If so, what position? Or do you think it makes it more likely they trade down for someone like Zabel Beardown? Well, to answer that question, I think if you're taking a offensive lineman in the first 10 picks of the draft, you are expecting them to start. That was the case with Darnell Wright. I think Campbell can start. Actually, I think both those guys in that super chat, Campbell and Membo. I don't know if Membo is going to, is it Membo or Membo? I should know that by now. It seems like he might go in the top 5 now. Like he might be O-line number 1 after his performance at the combine.
Which is wild, by the way. Plays right tackle. You'd be moving him if you were the Bears. I don't know where you're moving him at this point.
Well, my point is I'm not sure he lasts at 10.
Yeah. Well,
I think there's an increasing chance after the arm length thing that Campbell falls to 10, like Skoronski fell to 11 a couple years ago.
See, you're getting complicated now because if you're drafting an offensive lineman, he either you got to think he can step in and start at center day one, and or he can play left tackle day one.
And I would say my instant reaction to these trades, as far as it affects Campbell, that seems like less likely now, unless they really think he can play tackle. But that doesn't seem to be the case based on how they've scouted these guys in the past in terms of the arm length. But you just picked up 2. Let me tell you something about Jonah Jackson too. The cap hit might only be 11.8, and that's a little fluid because they got to figure out the cap credit on the roster bonus. You're paying him $17.5 million in cash, regardless of what the cap hit is.
Right.
He is getting paid $17.5 million. You're starting him.
Yeah.
He's a starter somewhere on that line with that money. So I would imagine, unless there's some thought that he could play center, which he doesn't have a lot of experience at, he's in one of the guard spots, I would think.
He did it last year, the first game for the Rams, and then he moved over. I wouldn't think that's your center play. I'd be surprised.
Joseph Sangiovanni.
My guy.
10 something.
What up, Joe?
Is that Swiss francs? I think we learned that or something. Target a safety in free agency. Trade back the first pick. Take the North Dakota State center, 2 pass rushers in round 2, and a running back in round 3. I don't hate it, Joe. I don't hate it. Trading back is looking is looking better. We got to keep super chats rolling here because I got to get over to all NFL. Mikkel Bunge, $2. Thoughts on trading down from 10 or Ashen? We kind of addressed that, but I like the idea of trading down too.
You also need somebody who wants to trade up. It feels less likely in this particular draft, but maybe it'll happen. I would bet that the Bears stay at 10.
Brendan Henderson, $2. Trading down is becoming more of an option too. Totally agree.
Yeah, definitely an option. But again, somebody's got to come up and want to do it.
Well, I mean, Shedeur Sanders might still be sitting there at 10. You get a team that wants to trade up for him.
I'd be surprised, but okay.
Oh, don't be surprised. It's quarterbacks.
No, I don't think he'll be there at 10. That's what I'm saying.
Gabe Gardner, $2. Going to tune into the All NFL pod. Thank you, Gabe. We're talking running backs today. Looking forward to that. Probably about 5-10 minutes. We'll start over there.
Just talk Thuney. Everybody wants to talk Thuney.
Well, we can't because it's a running back show, and we have a draft analyst who's going to break down all the running backs.
Thuney.
Okay. We'll do that at noon. David Reitz, $5. One more online signing. Dahlman, Zeitler, and a Garrett trade starts to feel more realistic. PS became a diehard after talking with Carman at Northwest.
Oh, you're the man, David. Appreciate it.
Sorry about Carm, but he should have paid for you to become a diehard at that point.
David, I'll see you at the NIT, hopefully, if we can get a home game. The fingers are crossed on that. Come on back. Go Cats.
Another 5 from David. Appreciate it. Jack Hansen, $2. All signs point to Genty at 10 now, right? I don't know about all signs. I also don't know that he's going to last that long.
I'll tell you this much. If they pick Genty at 10, Bears fans, I would think 95% of them will probably be going crazy at it. In a good way.
Oh, well, and that's a shift from like probably a month ago.
Yeah.
I think there would have been a riot a month ago. Chubbs 82, $2. I'm mildly excited now. We're bringing Chubbs back.
He's got a mild Chubbs. It's good. Congratulations to Chubbs.
Couldn't get through one show.
Nope.
Just couldn't.
Mild Chubbs is here.
Charles King, $2. My diehard shirt arrived today in Florida.
Yes, Charles. You're the man.
Fun fact, I think it shipped from Florida too. Nick J, $2. I don't know if there's a comment with that, but
thank you, Nick.
We appreciate the super. And I think that might be it. I think so. Shout out to our whole crew for getting this emergency pod off.
Sarah
Fichter filled in, but Steven also helped big time setting us all up. He's on his way in for our noon show. So is Greg Braggs, who was at the Purdue game last night. So we'll have the whole crew back together at noon. And again, all NFL, if you want some draft talk on the running backs, it's coming up in about 5 minutes over. Now it's a separate feed. So please go over to the All NFL podcast channel, hit subscribe there, watch the show there. We greatly appreciate it. That's going on there. And then you can always get that as a podcast as well. This will be up as a pod too on the CHGO Bears feed. Am I forgetting anything else? Become a diehard.
I think you did a great job. It was a pleasure to be able to be the appetizer to your ALLCITY. Actually, I think I was cocktail hour. Now you're going to do a solid shrimpy appy, and then we're going to have the steak, fish, salmon, chicken at noon.
We'll talk to you at noon, if not early, if you come over to All NFL. Talk to you later.
We all silly like the mayor.